Stock management is an inventory management software intended for hospitality workers and managers who are struggling to keep track of their stock inventory rotation. So this is the homepage where it leads to where there are quick links. So the products displays all the available products that are recorded in the database. It allows create. So as you can see here, it allows updates as well as delete like this. If you see what's the red in here, it's because it is recorded under the minimum stock. So the current stock is 0, but the minimum stock is 4. So this would make easy managers to see what items to order weekly or on a daily routine. Managers could keep track of what needs to be ordered next. It also allows stock in and out. So if you can see here, if I do stock in on this date, I'll put 10 beef on the 14th of October. It pops up here. And when you save it as well, there's 10 beef recorded here. It's no longer under the minimum stock. You can also do a stock out, which would directly reduces the number to 1. Now the beauty of this, what makes it different, is that you can do another stock in for a different delivery date. Let's say for the 20th of October, there's another 10 beef coming. It groups them by their delivery date, so that as a worker we would know which one to use first, in terms of the principle first in and first out in hospitality. So when compared with an application called Sortly here, there's a couple of differences, one being that the match between the system and real world is different. For Sortly, it is more, I believe, towards retail businesses and cash registers, because there's total prices, there's total quantity, there's graphs that they can access as well. There's more information in general loaded in here, whereas this is the prototype of my application. It offers more simplicity, and it offers better match towards the food industry, because it focuses more on the quantity, stock level, and the delivery dates for perishable goods. It offers user control for both of them. For Sortly, it's in the top left, there's cancel button, there's back button, and there's tab layout. Similar to mine, I have the tab layout as well. There is no back button because in Android it's easy to go back, but there's also cancel button as well, as it can be shown in here. There's cancel button here. There is also more flexibility in Sortly application when doing stock in. There's a barcode scanner instead of just manual form used in my application. In terms of error prevention, they gray out the save button if the forms are not filled out yet, whereas for mine it is done only after the user presses save. So it's a little bit too late, but that could be further implemented as an improvement. The architectural design that I'm using for this is using model view and controller. So the view comes from all the XML files in here, where there are buttons, edit text, switches, tab layout here. There's view pager, which displays the pages, and the recycler view, which displays the dynamic list. For the controller, the main activity basically only adapts between the tab here and the view pager. So each time that each position are assigned a name, and then each in the view pager adapter, the view for each position selected, different fragments are created. For example, the home here would create the home fragment, and then the products here would create a list fragment, and then history and respectively. And so for the list fragment, it offers two different filters this one is products, and this one is watch list. So what is watch list? So watch lists are the customizable list that users want to watch. So for example, for beans, if we want to unwatch it, we could just simply do that and it save that, and then save it as well. So this provides users the ability to keep track of the more risky or more perishable goods. For example, milk, that it has a quick turnover, so it needs to be regularly watched rather than takeaway cups or plastics. So in the list fragments, it uses a recycler view from the view, and then it adapts it to the database. History table is the fragment for this. It provides table, PQ table fragment would simply add on this form here as a table. There is also in the models, there are SQLite database are being used. There are 3 tables, which is the product table, which stores the products, history table, which stores the history table here, and the product quantity table, as I showed before, stores the product quantity here. There's the API or library uses SQLite open helpers, as you can see here, which performs all the query and as a function, so we can easily access them in other activities for each of them. And then there's also data transfer object for each of them as well. As for the forms, they are used as they are implemented in activities like this. The forms are like these are forms and these are forms as well. They're separated in activities because they don't really need to use the fragments. The fragments are used because of the tab layout. Another fragments used are the date pickers. So one of the advancement of the user experience here is an alternative or a flexibility to select date. This is the fragment like this. If you just pick one of them, it will record it straight away for you. So that's a flexibility instead of doing it manually. So the 2 advancement that I'm doing is the tab layout, as I mentioned, and the date picker. So the APIs used in here are includes SQLite database as I showed before in the fragments, tab layouts, view pager. Also, most of them are in the on resume lifecycle. Lifecycle is very important in here because this is due to a lot of them needs to be immediately updated. So for example, if I delete this, it needs to be immediately reloaded, and that can only be done in on resume, not in on create view or on create. That's why they're just empty like this. Another API used are constraint layout and the linear layout. So the constraint layout is only used in the home fragment just because they need to be resized correctly depending on the sizes, whereas the others, they're mostly ongoing lists that doesn't need constraint depending on the screen size. It's mostly just they go as far as they go. Yep. And I'm using lock as well in some of the cases here to display build history and to debug. I've also used a cursor in the helpers here, which can be parsed through. So like from the result here, it returns cursor and they are parsed through later. For further improvements, I think it would be better to have role permissions in the app where only managers can do the create products, for example. That would be possible improvements, but there's limitations to time. Thank you. That's all.